They're ready for the money.
All right, I want to welcome Councilmember Young up as chair of the Infrastructure and Transportation, or some variation thereof, Committee, Transportation Infrastructure. And that's right, Director Alarcone, I will let you introduce your team here and then tell us if this budget will allow you to fulfill your mission, and if not, what we need to do so we can try our hardest to set you up. Thank you for being here.
Give us just 1 second. We're going to pull up our presentation. But good evening. Yep. So y'all can hear me. Good evening. Thank you very much for this opportunity to come before y'all. This is my first, so be gentle. But to my right is Brad Fries. He is our chief engineer, and he also oversees our development side of the house. Well, it has a much bigger name than that, but we'll get into that as we get in the presentation. To my left is Kristen, and Comro, sorry, gosh, I totally went blank there. And she is our assistant director over finance, or over the administrative side of the house. And then next to me is Philip Jones, who is over our operations side, and we'll get into more information about that. And if you can just give us 1 second, we will bring up a presentation that will kind of help us walk through and share with you our budget. So I see it on my screen, but I don't see it on the
Our
big
local
screen.
expert had to be at another meeting, but y'all have gotten much farther than I could have gotten you.
There we go. Give it a minute.
There's something about sliding it over to the wall
To the wall.
with the,
Multiple screens, so you might have to drag it over, I think. Is that what you?
that's what I'm saying.
Thank you.
I don't know what I'm saying, but that's what I heard. You did it.
All right,
We're gonna
forgive
we're gonna
us, we're
put you
going
on
to do
staff.
this in non-slide move and slide presentation. So just go back to the first one. So we'll move real quick. So we did quick introductions. Oh, I failed to introduce additional folks as well, so forgive me. Over to our left over here is Courtney Stone. She is our PIO manager. And then also over there is Charles Bodie. He is my HR manager. And then also Jesse Turner, who is our IT manager. So I did bring the whole team because there's a lot we're going to be covering with y'all tonight. So sorry, team. They're very important and very essential to our success as a department. All right, so we'll move to the next slide. So I really want to start with an overall view of our department and how we're structured and what we look like. And as you can see, I'm introduced Brad. He oversees our infrastructure development, delivery, and management side of the house. And then I have Philip, who oversees our infrastructure operations and asset management side of the house. And then Kristen, of course, is over our administration. And then Jesse and Courtney and Charles actually fit in more of a direct report as I'm growing out the department. But just to kind of give you an idea of how it all functions within it. Within Brad's group, we're broken down into 3 different divisions, which is plan and development, design and deployment, and then transportation system management. And we'll dig into that as well. And then under Philip, we actually have operations, maintenance, and regulatory and enforcement. So we'll go to the next slide. So I wanted to kind of highlight some of our accomplishments that we've had over the course of the past year. And of course, I have only been here for a few months that this has been going on. So I really want to say kudos to the team as a whole, because they've been doing an exceptional job kicking off a brand new department. So we have done an introduction on Nashville.gov of our transportation-oriented plans, programs, and priorities for the new Ndot, and that's been out and given to the community. We've led the creation of Vision Zero, which is a citywide initiative, which includes the development of our action plan and our implementation plan, the integration of a complete street design principles and Ndot standards, updated our 3-year walk-bike plan that actually got approved by the Planning Commission a couple weeks ago. We are working right now on and have continued to improve on our enhanced community engagement strategies. We've also been awarded 7 out of 9 grants and partnership opportunities. They are equal to about $72 million, which is really significant. $4.6 million came in from the federal government, including a CMAQ, which I'll get into more for our traffic management center, and I'll get into more details about that. We've received $25.2 million from the state, and we've had about $30.5 million local. So we've been given, and about 1.5 in partnership. So we have a significant amount of dollars that we've been really pressing forward on that sign of delivery. Next slide. So So some additional accomplishments, again, is congestion mitigation air quality, which is the CMAQ. We received $3.65 million for the deployment of our traffic management system. This is 100% funded. We're super excited about that. We require no local matches. And this is actually from the Federal Highway Administration and the Tennessee Department of Transportation. This is really going to be significant. This is going to allow us to really look at how to best utilize the technologies and the signalization system we have so we can be more efficient in how we move people safely throughout our city. So one of the big questions I want to share with y'all, last year, y'all, thank you very much, approved 42 new positions in our budget. We have successfully hired 41 of those 42 positions. The one position that we've been struggling with has actually been a GIS position, and the biggest struggle there has been the market. We just do not meet the market, and we are very hopeful with the pay plan that's coming forth as part of the budget in July. That's going to put us in a more competitive market that we feel successful will be able to hire that in the next, after that occurs in July. We've established a new Ndot engineering internship program. Super excited about that. HR Charles over there has been working really hard about that. And I'm looking forward to having some of that young talent be in our office and working right side by side with our other engineers. We've also been collaborating very closely with TSU, the University of Memphis, Tennessee Tech University, the University of Tennessee in Knoxville, for employment opportunities. We're trying to open up a really good conversation that gives us an opportunity to bring in some of that young talent and keep it locally with us and encourage them to develop a career here at the city. And the county. And we've worked really hard at developing relationships with outside career opportunity, established career opportunities, and to participate with us, such as the Martha O'Brien Center, Project Return, and U.S. Probation and Pretrial Services in the Middle District of East Tennessee. So the reason why I highlighted these as accomplishments is because we have been challenged over the past year with getting folks to come on board. A lot of that is also because of the pay scale. We were successful in a couple months back to get a couple steps increased in the entry-level folks, especially in those folks that work out on our operations side. But I also know that there's additional steps that'll be added in the July pay plan, which is also going to make us much more competitive with the other forces out there. So we have had some challenges in this. So these relationships that Charles has been working on and his team's been working on developing have been really critical for us filling some of those positions that we've been challenged with over the past. So some additional accomplishments, of course, is want to kind of highlight some really good successes, and that is we've shortened the construction of sidewalks and delivery by 62.3%, and we've reduced the cost by 33.3%. So we've been really super excited about that. Completion time we've reduced from 115 days down to 43 days, and the cost has gone from about $365 to $243 in linear foot. Now we're going to try to hold to that, but we are challenged right now with some of the inflationary costs out there. But our goal is, of course, is to meet the mayor. The mayor's established us a goal, which is 50% shorter time to get something done and 20% cheaper. So we're on target right now. We're going to continue to strive for that, but we do have some inflationary challenges, much like many other folks out there in our industry. We've also updated and developed a program and project management, pre-construction and construction manuals for our transportation infrastructure deployment. This is really important. This is really kind of our Bible, I want to call it, of how we're going to get stuff done. It was something that was missing before, and under Brad's leadership, he came in and he actually started developing these manuals so that everybody knows what the processes and the procedures are required on delivering. And that's both at the federal, state, and local level. We've established and increased crews to support our operations. Philip's been really successful with the bike lane sweeping. I'm excited to share that we actually have received a bike lane sweeper. It's small. It'll fit into the bike lanes. We're actually in the process of training the staff up. We're going to be working on doing a more public outreach about it and sharing. So right now we're staffing, setting up a route. What am I missing? Anything else?
just, we're waiting on a couple of pieces of equipment to support it to come in, but we're ready to go.
Perfect. Thank you. We also have built up a concrete infrastructure maintenance crew. So this is to, again, to help us get things done quicker, faster, and delivery, because we're really going to be focusing in on our delivery. And then, of course, we've built up the snow and ice crew, and that was really necessary this past winter. It was quite a welcome to Nashville for me. We've also been successful with replacing a lot of our speed limit signs down to 25 miles per hour, and we're looking forward to continue that practice. We replaced approximately 2,500 signs last year, and it took us about 6 months, but it's something we'll be look forward to maybe continuing the conversation. We've also worked on our shared, what we call SUMD, which is the Shared Urban Mobility Device, and that's in partnership with WeGo. It's a pilot, and it kind of like shares with folks that first and last mile about how to get to things, times, and all of that. So that's, we feel, is a great success. We've also have partnered with a company called Populist Technologies to use that data to do statistical tracking. It also helps us work through our complaints that come through Hub Nashville and how we can do policy enforcement. So it's allowing us, again, to use our time and our information with data and be more focused and efficient. We've moved our, of course, Metro Beautification Environment Commission has now being housed out of Ndot. It moved over a few months back, and Philip has taken that on with great grace, and JD over there have just taken a hold of it with full charge. And we are really excited about the program. We have a lot to do, but we're all hands on deck, and I'm really super proud of the team. And we've really been focusing in on the neighborhood and program, working with our beautification commissioners, volunteer, and also we're working with the Metro School District on a student cleanup. So a lot of our kids, when they're graduating, before they graduate, when they apply to colleges, they're required to have a certain amount of volunteership. So we want to grab those kids and offer them an opportunity to help us with litter pickup and cleanup. So we're working with the Metro School of putting that program together. That'll be in next school year programming. And we're also working on developing training programs for all of our Ndot permit inspectors and our CEI permit inspectors. So as Bill had mentioned earlier, over in code, we're having the similar challenges. When they have the increase, we have the increase. So we've been working really hard on a full vetted training program. When I actually arrived here in January, we had 4 inspectors. We now have 19. We're full-blown, we're full force, and so we're doing the training program. I'm hoping that we'll train them and they'll stay. They won't leave, but Philip turned to me and whispered when Bill said, yes, they get trained and they leave, and he goes, yes, we train them and they go to code. So, so we're hoping we'll train them and they'll stay, but I do not mind sharing in the city. I don't have a problem sharing with the love. All right, next slide. So where are we going? So as you can see, I put up there, this is the umbrella, and at the top of it is Vision Zero. And so Vision Zero is an initiative that the city has already started moving forward with, and it's going to be transformational. And it's really about creating a safe environment for all modes in our city. And so I call that, and I share that with the team, and that's our umbrella. And everything we do is going to fall under the umbrella of Vision Zero. And that's why you see this with the raindrops. So we're going to be really under the umbrella of Vision Zero. We're going to, of course, our complete streets, that it's include our design guidelines, the transportation plan. Everything we're doing with the transportation is going to fall in under that safety mechanism and how we're moving people safely. Same thing goes with our enforcement, our walk bike program. That's all about safety and how we can move folks and how we can do it better. We also have roadway lighting. That's another really important safety element. Signal maintenance. There's some great opportunities with just the signal maintenance that we can improve efficiency. That's going to improve safety for all the modes out there. Our quick builds. That's something we're super excited about. That's going to be an opportunity for us to get out. It takes a lot to do what we refer to as hardscape, our major infrastructure change, but sometimes you can do these quick builds and you can do vertical kind of elements or paint on the ground, and that allows you to actually have a change in how the feel of the road is. So we're going to really be moving forward with a lot of ideas on quick builds, working with Walk Bike, also the Civic Design Group, and other nonprofit agencies in our community as well. quick bills so that we can, again, continue to make the streets safe. And of course, we got Connect Downtown that is ongoing. We kicked that off a few months ago, and that's really about looking at how traffic is moving in downtown and making it safe for all the modes. We have a very large population of pedestrian and bicycle activity that occurs out downtown, as well as also some outside entertainment vehicles, and it's not very safe. So Connect Downtown is really going to be a program that's going to focus on where we need to make those improvements and how we can continue to move traffic. One of the things, just real quick on Connect Downtown, I'm really excited about, we have a lot of office buildings downtown, and it's important that we're supporting those office buildings to get in and out. They bring folks in town. They're constant with us. They stay through thick and thin. So we want to make sure we're also supporting that traffic coming in and out. So Connect Downtown is going to be doing some simulations about how we support all of that traffic. So it's a really super exciting opportunity. Education will be a really important part and a necessary component of our visionary effort. We're going to really be focusing on our high entry network, which is mainly, most of it is our pikes. So how is it we can better design them and engineer them so that all modes move safely, as well as how can we educate people about the rules of the road. Well, parking is going to be a really important component as we move forward, and how that's going to feed into providing safety. Litter and sweeping is going to be another really important component when it comes to safety, and y'all are probably going, why? But if you think about it, litter is actually trash on the ground, and that can actually create slip and falls on many different levels, but it can also create an issue with vehicular driving. Our sidewalk program, we have the walk bike, but we're also moving sidewalk programs forward as well. So that's all about safety, creating that safe network for the pedestrians to move. Community engagement will be a key part of our Vision Zero, and I say that from the extent of we want to hear from the community about what their thoughts and their desires are within their neighborhood. I think I've shared with them, a lot of y'all, that to me, transportation is very personal. And so we want to make sure that when you step out that front door, we're addressing that, and we're looking at it through our community's lens, and we're doing our best to address that. So community engagement will be a very important part of our Vision Zero effort. Traffic management system. So I did speak a little bit about that, but the other really great thing about the traffic management system is the technology that's available today can actually help us slow down cars, can actually prevent crashes from occurring. So we're really excited about the role that this will play for us in improving overall safety for all modes on the roadway. Traffic calming, we've had some great success. We have selected 25 traffic calmings. A lot of y'all have them within your neighborhoods. We're really looking forward to working with y'all on that. We have another 25 will be coming out soon. And then next year we plan on, in the late fall, early winter, actually it'll be in January, right? We'll be putting out for another 25. Our goal is to try to get through all applications we receive. So when someone puts it in, it stays in. We don't pull it out. We continue to evaluate it. Every time we are reviewing it, we look at the latest update data to see where it falls and re-rank it. So once someone puts in an application, it never leaves our box. We're still working on it. Signs and marking plays an important initiative as we move forward, and we'll talk more about that. And also routing software, and I just want to throw that in real quick because that's about safety as well. So it's not just safety for the folks that are out on the road, it's also about creating a safe environment for our folks and when they're out doing work. So routing software is going to be really important, helping us create the most efficient route when we're doing litter cleanup or when we're doing snow and ice cleanup, whatever we're doing. So that's a new program that we're actually bringing on board that we'll be using as we move forward under this umbrella of Vision Zero, which we feel will be very transformational of the department because we're looking at it holistically and we're tying it into everything that we're doing. So a couple more slides on where we're going. So I have a few goals and visions I want to share with y'all of what I'm focusing on over the next year. So transparency is something very important to me. I really want to work hard at making sure the community is aware of what we're doing and how we're moving forward. So we will be working on dashboards and as well as measurements that are coming out of the implementation plan, plus through our bike walk plan, everything that we're doing, we're creating these strategies that will have performance measures that we're going to make very transparent to the community. And that goes also with the community engagement. We want to make that very much transparent. And so as we get into some of the FTEs, I'll be able to explain how that plays in. Accountability is something that's really important. And so when I showed the slide earlier of how we are organized in the department, that organization is really designed for accountability. And just like the manuals that we wrote that we're going to be using that help define how we're going to do our jobs correctly and do them efficiently, that's all about accountability. So we're going to really be defining our processes and our policies to make sure that we have that accountability built in for all of our employees. Proactive. So right now, I think we all sit down at the table and we pretty honestly say we're reactive. We get a message from Hub Nashville, we jump. We get messages from y'all, we jump. And we really want to focus with all of these initiatives and looking at it holistically of moving from a reactive process to a proactive process where we're out finding the problems. You're not bringing them to us. The community is not. So that's going to be a real big focus for us over the next year. Data-driven. So I'm a very data-driven person, and I think data will really tell you a good story. So next year when I come before you and I'm asking for some particular positions or funding or programming, I'm going to have a lot of data-driven behind it. Forgive me for not having this year new. Don't go easy on me. Don't be so hard on me. But I promise you, as we move forward, I will have a lot of data that I'll be sharing with y'all that's going to really be driving some of our decisions. And that's going to be including when I talked about the transparency, when we talk about how many miles we've covered in litter pickup and how that compares to the prior year. That's going to be transparency and that's going to be accountability, but that's also going to be part of the data. Permitting, everything. We're just going to be very out there in front of everyone and let the data help us also guide the direction we should be moving, and not necessarily it's a good idea. It's the data shows that we should be doing this. So we'll be very data driven on delivery of projects and programs. And then community engagement. I am a very community engaged person, and it's really important to me. Like I said, transportation is personal. So I really want to be talking to the community. I do a lot of that now, but I'll continue to do that, and I'm there to support anything that y'all are doing as well. So I wanted to share that with you. So into our budget request, I will share this with you, and I'm sorry, I know I have 10 minutes, so I'm gonna roll quick. But so some of our budget request is under marking and sign maintenance. We have asked for 6 new positions. It's roughly about $1.384 million. This is going to allow us to do upgrades to signage. This is actually, part of it is a regulatory requirement. We are all our signage is supposed to be a white reflective background. We have not started doing it. It was actually a law that was passed in 2014? 2014, and we're supposed to have swapped them all out. So this is an initiative we actually want to move forward. It falls right in with our Vision Zero. It's all about safety, making sure everyone can see it, and we move it forward. But it also gives us an opportunity to really look at sign pollution as well. So we have the opportunity to clean up the sign pollution, and look at moving forward and making our city even more beautiful. So we're looking at this in a big picture. The other part of this also with the marking and the signs is this is also looking at bringing a team in-house. We talk about quick builds. If we can go out and do our own markings, we can build things quickly. We can get them done. We can make a difference in how people are behaving on roads. Right now, I have to stop. I have to procure. I have to hire. I have to go. That is a long process. If we have the ability to bring it in-house, it's at our fingertips. We can just move on projects. So it'll tie in real quickly. So there's 2 really good outcomes with that particular ask. Under right-of-way litter removal, so this is 8 new positions and $612,000. We are actually taking the litter program back over from water back over to Ndot. So this is actually fulfilling that position. So, and it's also adding additional staff that we want. That is something we heard very loud and clear. And I've also heard very loud and clear from the mayor about the litter in our city. We actually are working with the contractor. And we had a very long conversation today about this. And there's just 2 years of litter that is built up while we were in COVID. And so we're doing a deep dive right now. It is our goal to get through the entire city. We thought we would move quicker than we would, but I will tell you, the litter's pretty thick. And we're not leaving until we get it done. But we will get through the whole city, and we will have then a regular litter routine program, and that's where the routing software really will come in handy, because what we want to do is keep Nashville beautiful. So that's what this request is for. The sidewalk and gap repair, this is 7 FTEs, 432. This is an additional crew to get out and do the sidewalk repairs, fill in the gaps. We have an idea of where we need to go in. I've heard from a lot of y'all where you'd like to see some of the gaps fill in. This is part of that opportunity that's going to allow us to be delivering on programs and projects. Right-of-way maintenance, now this is a really important one, and this is just about the overall maintenance of the right-of-way. So this is for an additional crew of the maintenance of our right-of-way. We're asking for 4, this is for 4 FTE positions and $247,000. And this is gonna allow us to stay on top. And this goes back to, we need the folks. We wanna actually add additional routes. It's not just about doing what we have in house now. It's about adding routes so that we're more thorough and we're staying on top of it. And we really want to be very successful at keeping Nashville clean, keeping the alleyways clean, keeping the right-of-way beautiful. We are also asking for an infrared patching system. It's $178,000 and 3 full-time. This is actually for potholing. It's a very effective system. It's probably one of the most effective systems. Sometimes, unfortunately, when we go pothole and it rains, the pothole pots back up. The infrared patching has really been effective in staying in place and holding its own. So we'd like to add another one, and with that, a team to actually be out there doing more what I'm referring to as very permanent potholing repairs. We also, bike lane maintenance, we want to add additional crews for the bike lanes. So we actually will have 2 bike lane sweepers, we'll have routes, we want to add to it, we want to be out there taking care of it, and we want to be maintaining. And this isn't just about sweeping, but it's also like if a delineator gets knocked down, we're going to pick it back up, adding delineators, really maintaining the investment in the infrastructure we have and what infrastructure we add under the bike lanes. Paving construction inspection. This is for 1 additional inspector. So this is on our paving side. This year, we're spending roughly $28 million on our paving program, which is the number of streets that are out there being repaved. And this is asking for an inspector to help us to check on the contractor to make sure that they're laying the pavement correctly, they're using the right material, it's properly done so that, again, we're not having potholing in like 2 to 3 years because the work was done inappropriately. The next one is our right-of-way litter. So this is additional. This is our contractor. I talked about it. Currently, right now, that contractor is actually under a grant, and we want to continue to use them. We feel like this is a really important piece of our overall litter program. So that's what the litter, this particular asks for $1.5 million. Street sweeping is $750, and as I had mentioned, we're actually bringing street sweeping back over to Ndot, and we'll be managing it over our way. So this is asking for that funds of $750 for the street sweeping program that's currently with water. All right. Few more, and then I promise I'm getting close to the end for y'all. Planning and development services. So this is in Brad's group. We're asking for 4 additional staff members to enhance our GIS. And again, as I mentioned, the GIS position has been the one we've been struggling with, but we feel with the changes that was happened in conversation with Jesse over there and with Keith Durbin, we feel like with this change in the pay structure, we're going to be successful in being able to recruit it. But again, data, GIS is data. And we really need the help so that we can pull that data, analyze it, and use it so that we can be very effective and efficient. Design and development services, we're asking for 3 full-time positions, and this is for additional engineering and administrative, and this is really important. That delivery is something that we want to make sure we're hitting, but that's going to require engineering review, getting it out the door. We're very dependent on consultants right now, and we want to get off some of the dependence on the consultants. I talked about the sign and marking. If I have an engineer that can do it quickly and get it done, sign, seal it, and get it over there, we can go get it done. Again, going back to the quick builds, and it's all plays into that big picture. Transportation and licensing, so this is our TLC, so our trans entertainment. We actually are moving forward with the regulations. We go back before the TLC next week, but we are asking for 4 full-time positions. This is for compliance inspectors and an operations manager so that we're out there when they're actually the hours of operation, being able to inspect. It's not something we've been doing very well in the past, but we plan on doing because it is become a bit of a challenge of the traffic for our downtown core. So that's what we're asking for that one. And the last one is on the communication side. We're asking for 2 full-time positions. And of course, I've had the chance to speak with some of y'all. You know, traffic calming is a really important program that we have, and it's really turning out to be quite a successful program. And so, oh, thank you. Oh, I missed 2. Oh dear, oh, thank you. Oh, I have one more sheet. Okay, sorry. I did a bad job reading Brad at that moment. Sorry about that. On the communication side for traffic engineering, one of the things that I've heard very loud and clear from council when I've had the chance to meet with y'all when I first came into this position is the challenges you're having with getting out to the community to get the petition signed and get it. So one of these communication position is going to be to help assist the different council offices with getting those petitions done, a communication point. Because the quicker we can get the petition, and I will share with you, that's kind of one of our holdups, is we get through the process, we get the done, we get the design, but yet we're waiting on the petition. So this communication person is going to help us with getting those petitions done so we can get to delivery. And that's what we're about. Delivery, 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 so that we create safe roads and modes for every mode of transportation. And then the other one is going to be supporting. So, you know, we have a lot of great programs that we are actually kicking off and going. And I want to make sure that we are actually have the communication. We're out there with the community engagement. And that's really what we're going to do. That's going to be our driving force. And then my last page is traffic engineering. We're asking for 1 full-time position. This is a new engineering position that we want that's going to oversee our street lighting and our lighting project. Again, lighting is an essential part of roadway safety and pedestrian safety. So we really want to focus on that in the lighting program so that we can have a better program of our lighting. We also are asking for some additional dollars for contractual increases in software. So this goes back to our IT. It's really important that we have the software support for all of the initiatives that we have going on. We also are asking for money for our membership and training. You know, I have some great folks, and training and opportunities to go to conferences is a great way for networking, but to also get engaged and learn what other cities are doing so that they can bring it back to us. So I feel like this is a really important part of professional growth for our employees. Fee review, I want to come in and do a fee review for our permits. So code beat me, they've already done that. I need to do that. Is 19 enough employees for us to have out doing permit review on over $5 billion worth of new development? Is our fee structure in line? So I really want to dive into that and look at that. And then of course, the last one is for salary adjustments, which is based on the pay plan. So with that, I will be quiet and I will take any questions, and thank y'all.
You did great for your first time. Thank you for that very thorough run through. We appreciate it. Councilmember Parker.
Thank you, and thank you for the presentation. I just had a couple of questions about budget increase requests specifically. On the right-of-way alley maintenance crew, we have a lot of alleys in my district, and they are often full of stuff. So earlier in the term, I solicited everybody I had contact with in the district and said, can you just tell me if there, I need to know all the issues, where are the spots? We'll ask Ndot to come out, or at the time Public Works to come out and kind of hit all the spots at once. They can bring a big truck into the area and hit all the spots, and Public Works accommodated that, but I would say very respectfully, they told me that that's not the best way to do things. Let's put in single hub requests for it. And so that, where there's as much issue as with dumping in alleys that I have in my district, it doesn't seem like the single trips, bring your truck out to a single spot is the best way to go. So I'm wondering if this will get us closer to routine patrolling of the alleys for waste.
So I'm going to turn this over to Philip because this is his passion. But again, I just want to emphasize, I want to go from being reactive to proactive, but I'm going to let him speak to that question. So thank you.
Yeah, council member, this is where, what we do now is try to come in and do a full maintenance this will help provide that service like what you're asking for, to where when we're working through giving 4 rotations a year to the alley cleanup, which is trim them back, really go in there and detail clean them, this will give us the availability to go in and catch the quick things. Because one thing we have observed with all the alleyways are if something's left, a pile's dumped and left, it congregates and grows.
Yes,
so
sir.
this should help relieve that. We've got a new routing system that you see on there that we're now using and implementing to kind of help our crews, where we've got routes put together. We'll start in July, where we're able to get through these efficiently and be able to make more headway.
That's excellent. Thank you. And I had another quick question about the lighting staffer or staffers that you've asked for. Right now, the best way that I know to get the light bulbs replaced in my district is for me to go out there on my bicycle or on foot, take pictures of all the poles that are out, and then send a list over to NES of the poles that are out. I think that if we could find a way to do that more effectively, I think that would be a big boost. It's a little bit like the alleys with the trash. When I go out there looking for poles, I don't get far. It's not, I'm going out there to find one. I might go out because somebody told me about one, but I find 15 on my walk, And then the last bit of the lighting question is, are we going to be shifting away from the sodium bulbs in the near future? And is that effort going to be supported by these staffers?
Councilmember, those are great questions. So I'll address your last one first. So yes, we are going to be doing LED retrofit where we're going out there and replacing. We're actually working with NES and in cooperation with the mayor's office additionally to talk about that and talk about how we lay that out. We actually have a funding request for that actually in our CIB request actually to help support that retrofit. So yes, that's something I'm super excited about. One of the features that we want to integrate, and this kind of overlaps into your next, and a little bit on your other question, is smart systems, to where we're not actually having to have people tell us when lights are out or drive out there and see. We want to actually have connectivity to our lights and actually be able to see that and proactively address where we have light failures and not have to rely on hub request as frequently. Hub requests will still come in, and we still appreciate having those hub requests, but we want to stay on top of that and be able to maintain that. So yes, the answer to that question is yes, we want to be able to do that.
Excellent. And is there any sense of how that LED retrofit would roll out?
Yes. So NES has they have cycles where they actually do what we call preventative maintenance, where they go out there and do that. So we're working on that and working through how we phase that into those preventative maintenance cycles, or whether we do it all in one bundle. So we're having those conversations now.
Last thing I'll say, if there's any ability to look at our sort of Vision Zero pedestrian hotspots, I know that the sodium lighting tends to be that very warm. It doesn't reflect off of folks as well as the LED does. So that might be one factor we consider as we roll the program out for prioritization is our Vision Zero hotspots. So thank you all so much.
Councilmember Young.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Back here, yeah, hi.
Hello, sir.
Director, you mentioned Vision Zero and 5-year implementation plan. Is that something, and this might be a little less budget related, and I apologize, but is that something you're going to have before council soon, or when do you think that might be?
Yes, sir. We are going to be meeting the 1st of June with the task force to go over the 5-year implementation plan and take feedback. And then it is our hope that in July we'll be bringing the implementation plan and the Vision Zero action plan before council for adoption and a pledge. And the dollars are tied to our budget, as well as it will be tied to our capital and to our CIB. So thank you.
Does this budget start working on the structural changes needed to get towards achieving Vision Zero? Does it kind of to line up with that implementation plan?
Yes, sir, it does. With the implementation plan, I had spoken about the quick builds and some of the positions we asked for. That is in line with our implementation plan. So the budgetary modifications we request are going to allow us to implement and move forward a lot of the initiatives that we have lined out in that Vision Zero plan.
And then switching gears a little bit, we passed, maybe a year and a half or however, an overall transportation plan for the city. Are some of the staffing you have, because I understand a lot of that is capital expense, but are we making gains from maybe a staffing standpoint to start working towards checking off things on that list of what we need in the transportation plan?
Yes, sir, and thank you very much. We have been, so the 41 out of 42 that we received in this past year's budget, we've been successful to hire, has helped us kickstart the transportation plan, which is tied to our traffic calming and some of our other programs. The additional staff that we're asking for in the engineering side of the house is going to allow us to expedite that even further along. So thank you for that question, and yes, it would be extremely helpful for us to stay on target and continue to really focus on being, proactive and not reactive, but also really delivering on projects for the community.
Super. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Good questions. Councilmember Benedict.
Thank you, Chair. Director, thank you so much for your hard work. Congratulations on bringing August to us in May. After we brought January to you as if you were not from warm climates.
I do not get any credit for the humidity, though.
No, thank you so much, though, for all that you're doing. You've come in with a bang, and I appreciate the good work you're doing. As I understand it, we have about 200 requests for traffic calming in the queue. 25 twice a year is fabulous. What would it cost for us to fund all of those? I mean, in this fiscal year.
So I think it goes back to some of the requests we have in the budget modification. It really comes down to resources. So that's one of the reasons why we've made some of the budget modification requests on the engineering side, is so that we could look at maybe coming back and expediting even more of the studies, more of the applications than we have. But really right now, we're kind of, the number is strapped to the number of the availability of employees to get the work done. So in this, we did build that in to where we could do a better job at delivery.
Great. And then in looking at thank you for that. And in looking at your questions to us, it looks like there was about $2.5 million of requests that were unfunded, things for like an increase in brush rotation. There was a little bit of a reduction in the right-of-way litter removal. And so I know that those are things that you're going to go ahead and do and complete with the budget request, but what impact would it have on your department for us to go ahead and fund that additional $2.5 million?
So,
and is that number correct? Could you confirm that?
Yes, I think that number is correct. And it would, while we did talk about it, but the brush rotation would help. That was something kind of driven by council. You wanted a little more regular pickup. And it does kind of lead into the Vision Zero plan that we have. But we really do feel like what we have or what we're asking for in this plan will take care of your needs.
Okay, great. You guys do such
it would
great work.
allow us to get more done, of course.
Absolutely.
Quicker.
And absolutely. And I'm a fan of right now. We've had cuts for so long. It's time to bulk things up so that we can serve Nashvillians better and in a way that they've asked us to serve them. So I just want to make sure that all the possible resources we can get to you are there. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Henderson.
Thank you, Director Alarcon. It was a really detailed presentation. I know we're all really delighted to see all this. You had a lot on your plate when you got here. Like I have a little tear in my eye, colleagues. I mean, all these years of Public Works Committee and multiple administrations. So it's so good to see some of these things coming through. I guess my question was particular to kind of program management. I'm looking at your org chart that was in our budget folder, and I don't know if it's just my document, but everything that is under infrastructure development, delivery, and management, all that numeration under there is like 5 T dash, like all the other ones on the right, they have 6 FTEs, 17 FTEs, 228 FTEs, but the FTE numbers there, I don't know if other colleagues can see that, but it looks like it may be sort of a document error or something. So, pardon? I don't even know. I'm in our SharePoint on the Ndot org chart. In our SharePoint, but just if we need an update on that document, but the reason I mention it is because so often how council interacts with the department or how we interact with the community is in a programmatic space, right? So the traffic calming program, bike ways. And I understand as organized here, plan and development, design and deployment, and understandably, but I think I'm wanting to understand, how many traffic calming staff do we have? How many bike ped planners do we have? And so I guess I'm looking a little bit more for that programmatic detail, which could come through in this org chart a little bit, but again, there's some, in mine, all that numeration is illegible.
Thank you, Councilmember. I would like to get that back to you on that because it isn't just about the number of employees we have, because we also use a lot of consultants. So I think, to be fair to that, and I do not have that number with me, I apologize. I can't tell you how many employees I actually have in that, but actually those programs that you spoke about and additional programs, we do supplement a lot of our workload with consultants. So let me put that together and bring that back before everybody. And then that way I'm giving the full picture and not just a small piece of it.
Okay, I appreciate that. And to the traffic calming queue, I don't know the number of my colleagues that I speak for, but I feel like if your engineering staff recommends speed cushions for a street because there is a safety concern in the community, respectfully, I don't think we need petitions. That's just my, but I would encourage you maybe to garner some feedback from council members because there are 35 of us at the district level, and we've worked really hard over the years to make that traffic calming bucket bigger. First adding money in the Briley administration, then adding staff. That's something that I think this mayor and this body really wanted to lean into because it can be delivered more quickly than, say, sidewalk infrastructure. So I really appreciate the points that you were making, Director Alarcon, about crew and delineators and all those things. But I think we need to make the case to the community that this is, not your dad's old speed bump. A speed cushion is it's effective, but it's just a de minimis feeling of, there's not a sound issue. So I'm not sure why we're telling the community that they need to get a big petition signed. So just that's my 2 cents, and I would encourage you maybe to speak to colleagues as well about that. Then I guess, Chair, my other question, I'm sorry. I concur with Councilman Parker about the lighting. I just drive around and then I send an email to Antonio Carroll. There's 20 in this row kind of thing. But I know Council Lady Allen cares a lot about this. I would just ask, can we please make sure that LED light is warm, please? Because you can see on a 440, I get it. I mean, that's high speed, that's interstate, that's TDOT. That is super bright, hot, white light. And maybe on our arterials from a safety standpoint, because that's where we have our fatalities, maybe we need that quality of light. But I will tell you, when you transition into neighborhoods, people have sort of a palpable thing about that warm glow of a street light. So I just want to give you a heads up to be mindful on that from a lighting perspective. And I know that's a little more in the capital space, but as you think about managing that program, that community relations piece is going to be important to talk to people about. And I think some of that educating work, whether it's about traffic calming, if it's about lighting, all those things, I know Ms. Stone can do well.
Councilmember, that's a great comment. So lighting is something I'm pretty passionate about. So when we talk about smart lighting, context lighting is really a part of that in how we can actually dim in neighborhoods during certain periods of the day in there, but also have that lighting for the safety reasons that it is needed in those locations. So yes, that is something we're thinking about a lot. So I just want to reassure you that is on our radar.
And they hear it from me on a regular basis.
Yeah, and I just want to add, there is a dark sky ordinance as well in Nashville and Davidson County. So with the ability to move to smart lighting programming, we'll be able to be respectful of that dark sky ordinance and make sure we're meeting it, which is also going to be tied in with the neighborhoods. So moving to a different caliber of a lighting system is going to be a huge difference, not just from an energy saving, from a sustainable practice, but also from just being able to be respectful of our regulations that we have on the book, but how it looks and feels, but also improving the safety on those high injury networks that you just spoke about. So thank you for the question.
Glad that came up. Councilmember Bradford.
Thank you, Chair. My question is kind of with the right-of-way maintenance. So and I think we spoke about this when we had our one-on-one, there's several little intersections and areas in my district that seem to be like once a week there's some kind of accident, which, matter of fact, there was one today that I had to drive around. And I'm wondering if this right-of-way maintenance, some of these issues I believe are either the signage or lack of signage, the lighting, the lack of signal lighting, or also brush or the vegetation around the corners, in the right of way. I'm just wondering if this right of way maintenance plan or that you're suggesting here, if that's something that you're hoping to be more proactive about, going around and identifying intersections that have issues with whether it's the vegetation or if the lighting needs to be adjusted, or if the the signaling needs to be adjusted or lowered, so that it's easier for people to see the intersections, easier to see the traffic or pedestrians.
So I'm going to let Philip get into the program itself, but yes, sir, again, our goal is to be more proactive versus reactive, and we are very reactive right now. So with the additional request, it's going to allow us to look at being more proactive so that we're out there finding the problems before the problems find us. Philip?
She kind of stole the thunder on that, but yes,
Sorry.
that's exactly what it is. This is us trying to work toward being proactive instead of reactive. But we're looking at every program we have from top to bottom to ramp up where we have needs like your concerns, to where we can and get out and address those immediately instead of waiting on a hub request or a complaint.
I appreciate that, and thank you. And I think you set your bar really high for budget presentations this year, so looking forward to how well you do next year.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember
Lots of
Druffel.
data, lots of data.
Lots of data. Councilmember Druffel.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Try to make this fast. Traffic calming, so I have to go back and tell my folks if they didn't make it, it's going to be another year. I have probably 10 to 15 projects sitting there, and we didn't get in the last one. So if there's a way to expedite or bring more traffic calming engineers, if you take a look at my top 3 requests, traffic calming is probably the biggest issue that most of my neighborhoods look. Again, 25 when I have 10 requests, and I'll probably have to tell them maybe in a couple of years you might get lucky. I really think we need to expedite it. It's a really big issue, and I think we need to add more as soon as possible. And I would entertain any opportunity to get more out there. Again, people are talking about safety. We don't have any sidewalks. So they're really in West Mead Hillwood. So when you start to look at what are the options, they take their chances. And so people are just speeding through. So the second component is sidewalks, of course, and Brad's been very good about being accessible. But we're in a situation where we're actually bundling a sidewalk project with 3 other sidewalks, which actually is delaying our sidewalk. So can you sort of help me understand, if we're going to bundle sidewalks, it's going to take longer, how are we going to actually reduce the time to sidewalk?
Do you know what he's talking about?
Councilmember, are you talking about bundling it with other infrastructure like water?
No, you told me
stormwater,
on the sidewalk from HD Hill to Harding that you're going to bundle it with 3 or 4 other sidewalks. And then we have a 4-year horizon to eventually get there.
Yeah, so that was actually part of a project that was let last year to construction. We're actually soon, hopefully very close. I know the notice of a potential award went out this week, actually, on 3 IDIQ contracts. IDIQ stands for indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity. Those are on-call type contracts, so we don't have to go through the design, bid, build process. We can actually establish task work orders and get to those quicker. So, I mean, that's how we're trying to tackle that delivery and actually increase our speed in which we deploy those sidewalk projects. Go ahead.
But in this case, you told me that the four would be bundled together. And
That's
it would have
true.
up to 4 years to do it, which means we could be at that fourth year before we've got that sidewalk, which, of course, we've been delayed for 2 years. So if we're going to increase the 50% to delivery, how's that going to help?
So as far as those, I mean, those projects were in the traditional design bid build process, and they were bundled together in there. So it did have a contract period that we established as part of that contract when we awarded it. However, we can work within that as far as working with the contractor to try to accelerate those projects within that contract. And I know that that's their intention as well. So we are actually meeting with the contractor. MTI is the contractor that you're talking about on that particular contract. We're meeting with them to talk about that schedule.
Okay, it seems counter to what you're saying is that you're trying to get the sidewalks faster, but now you have a longer period of time.
No, I understand. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. So, those were previously awarded contracts, from years past. So we are moving forward trying to correct that actually with using IDIQ contracts.
So we can.
I thought that was a new contract.
All right, council members, we are running about 45 minutes behind.
Take that
so
offline.
we can stick to budget items and take those up later. That would be great. We have 3 more council members in the queue, and then we'll move on to water, I think. Councilmember Cash.
Thank you, Chair. I'm excited to hear about all the innovation and energy and progress being made. It won't surprise you, Director, that I want to talk about parking enforcement. We met a couple of months ago, and I heard some great plans about improving our parking enforcement, our parking management, and I think we agreed that there was room for improvement, especially with the non-metered spaces like a residential permit and 2-hour, and I think we agreed that there's some revenue on the table that we're missing out on. And I'm looking at the budget, and the request is the same as last year for parking enforcement. And I know that the meters and how that's coming along ties into that. I think it's been over a year since we passed the RFP for getting new kinds of meters. So I guess I wanted to hear, where are we in that parking enforcement plan?
So thank you very much for that question. I will I am going before the Traffic and Parking Commission next month for a recommendation of approval of a contract with a vendor that won the RFP process. They will be hiring as part of that parking program we'll be putting together up to 12 enforcement folks. So we will be moving that forward. The schedule on that overall parking program, just from the big window, is once we have an executed contract, they have 30 days to give us a business plan. Part of that business plan is also ordering the equipment. Most of the equipment that we will be getting in for the parking program is a 12-week lead time. So now I'm down to in late October, beginning of November. It's going to take us roughly around 45 days to maybe 60 days to get it installed. So now I'm over the holidays. I am not starting a new parking program over the holidays. So I'm looking after the holidays. I will open up with a new parking program with actually a soft opening, I like to call it, where we're issuing more warnings than we are necessary citations. We will also then at that time start working with the police, where we will actually be going out and enforcing the residential, more of the stop the non-violation or non-moving violations, such as parking, stopping, standing, those type of violations. So I'm really thinking that probably by February of next year, we'll be full force gung-ho. Now, over that 6-month period that we're doing installation, we will be bringing enforcement in. We'll be training them up. We'll be getting them ready. We will actually be using a lot of our programs that we should have been doing and we have not, and they'll be out doing training. So we're not going to wait until February. We'll be training up over this whole time. So I think you'll start seeing some changes in the fall, because that's when we'll have the people on, we'll have them trained, they'll be certified, we can move forward. We'd work through the dynamics with the police department that I feel you'll start seeing a different dynamic in your community. And that's for all communities that have residential parking permit programs. Thank you.
Thank you. Also, if I could, You talked about moving litter from water to Ndot. And I know in the mayor's speech, he talked about $3 million for beautification. So in moving, you moved the beautification commission and commissioners to Ndot.
Correct.
Is there in this, but the new budget request, is there money for them? Not, I mean, they're not getting paid. They're volunteers, but public servants. But is there money for like supplies for them, or possible, you know, like if one in one district knows, hey, this is something we need, is there like a fund for either small grants or something that helps them with beautification projects beyond like just picking up trash?
Yes, sir. We're still continuing with that same grant like we always have. So we have the grant funding for those type of requests.
So, and that's in our, I'm sorry, some of that is already in our budget, and now we're actually expanding it because we're bringing the entire litter program back over to Ndot.
So how much is that?
Yeah.
Is that the 750? Where is that at? Hold on.
We share in a grant.
Yeah,
We share in a grant with the Sheriff's Department for that program.
75,000?
Our
It's
part's
a $75,000 grant.
For
But
the
that's for litter
beautification commission or for all of that?
This is for this would be like for your litter grabbers to be able to buy trash bags and things for that. Sorry.
If they wanted to plant bulbs or trees or something, or put in mutt mitts, I mean, I know that's what there was some grant this year that they were actually able to do that. Is there funding available for
It
those
is
types
not
of
in my
beautification
budget.
projects? Not in this budget?
It's not in my budget.
Okay. Very briefly, Councilmember Henderson. Let's see, let me figure out who you are. Okay,
I'm Nancy.
you're Nancy.
Just historically, there's been a variety of different ways of approaching it. And so there has been sort of a grant into each district for the beautification commissioner to implement something. Then we moved to a model of saying, okay, well, maybe in partnership with Root Nashville, we'd have a toolkit and each beautification commissioner could implement a tree planting. But it varies across the spectrum of commissioners. Some have a very specific idea related to bulbs or beautification, but we've done it a lot of different ways over the years, and I think there has been some desire outside of just your basic litter prevention
To look at adding.
to have a bucket to implement. I don't know if it has to. Anyway, I'm just kind of trying to share a history of how it has been.
No, and thank you very much for that. I will tell you, I do not have funding in the budget this year, but I appreciate that, and I'd love to have the conversation so that we can look at how we can create that program and then what that budget allocation needs to look like so we can continue to grow the program and move it forward. But there is not dollars in the budget for this year for that. But I love the idea.
Let's do it. Great.
Thanks. And I'm just going to, I think our questions and comments were directed at Shaw. But I'm going to say, Chair, I want you to note also that I think that's.
This year, budget year.
Yes, Chair Allen.
Got it. Duly noted. We'll send that in a wish list item. We are, let's see, Councilmember Johnston.
Thank you. I will be brief. I am super excited, number one, about the direction of the department. I think when we were when I was elected in 2019, there's some second termers in here. I think we all knew that Public Works was a colossal mess. And so it's, to put it lightly. And so I'm excited about moving to more proactive versus reactionary and having a vision and a strategy and all that. How many open positions do you have right now?
I do have approximately about 70 open positions, and most of them are in the field level. And we are taking care of business right now with a lot of overtime and weekends. So we do have regular staffing that we bring in and work overtime both at nights and weekends so that we can stay up with the current level. So once we get those folks hired up, and we're really, I think part of the pay scale will help us with that. That's been some of our challenges. I'm just not very competitive with the private market. That's going to help. But then with the additional staff on top of that's going to allow us to add the additional routes, the additional routines we want to. So again, we can be proactive, not reactive. But right now, to compensate for the number of vacancies we have, we're actually doing that with a lot of overtime.
Okay. I do want to say I'm a little bit concerned about kind of like same thing with parks, is that continuing to add positions when we have not been able to fill what we already have allocated for. So it's a little bit of a concern for me because it just ties up operating budget for other places where we can spend the money and get some things done. The traffic calming, is it possible, because that's a big deal obviously across the county, is it possible to sort of do an audit through those 200 applications? Because some of the solutions that Ndot comes up with does not require petition. So I'm wondering if it's possible to go through those applications to say, hey, we can go ahead and knock this out. This doesn't require a bunch of feedback and sort of take a chunk out of that 200 number in applications.
Councilmember, that's a great suggestion, and we actually will look at that. I think what you're saying is spot on as far as auditing those and seeing. One challenge is we don't always do design. We don't do a design and go through that process until we actually are awarding the applications in there. But actually doing that audit, I think, is a really great idea. So thank you for that suggestion.
Thank you. And then someone else asked about brush pickup, and I don't know that I understood the question because right now we're at 4 times a year. Right? Yes, okay. So my district in particular has a ton of very large trees. Anytime we've got a windstorm or whatever, it's so 6 times per year I think would be super helpful. And Philip does a fantastic job. Thank you so much because I call a lot. So I appreciate it. Is that possible to move to a 6 time per year pickup, and maybe not necessarily in all districts, because not all districts have sort of like the Creve Hall, Oak Hill area where we've got a ton of trees. Some are more, densely populated with less trees. Is it possible to be more proactive in those areas?
It is, and that's kind of what I based that request off of when we submitted that, because regardless of the areas we do countywide, that's where the bulk comes from. So, the number of storms we had in the last year played a big part in it, in that. But when we made that request to up the rotations, it's just a matter of resources.
Right.
Yeah.
And I would also say I think the answer to your question is we want to get to a definite yes to that, to where it's based on need as well as being proactive. And that's where the data will come into play, along with the smart routing system that we're going to, is going to allow us to put those efficiencies in place.
Okay, thank you. Just two more comments. I love the fact that we are moving away from being so heavily contract service out and bringing more things in-house so that we can do things in a more expedient fashion, like you were saying. So I want to double down on that. And my brain has escaped me with what I wanted to say after that. So I will just leave it in the interest of time. Thank you guys so much.
That is interesting. Okay, thank you. Councilmember Swope.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Director Alarcon, kudos to you and your team for basically jumping onto a speeding, flaming train. And at least in a couple of several months, you got the fire put out for the most part. So my kudos to all of you.
Thank you. I have a fantastic team.
I know you do. I wear all of you out. You know that. Just one thing, and I may be completely off base here with this one, but math is pretty simple. And if you divide 1.381 million by 6, you come up with $230,000 per FTE for marking signs, sign maintenance.
Well, I'm sorry, that's also for equipment.
Okay, so
and it's also got built into it the purchase of signage and everything that we need to do. So I apologize.
I figured as much.
Sorry.
Because your FTE numbers are all over the map here, from 54,000
I want that job.
to 230, and I'm like, wait a minute, if you're putting up signs for $230,000 a year,
No, that's for equipment.
I'm applying right now.
I got it. Yeah, I'm sorry, I apologize, but that's for the positions and the equipment and the materials that we would need to be able to be very quick and efficient with it.
Is there anywhere, do you have anywhere online that breaks down what these FTEs are making per position?
We can actually provide you with what the recommendation in the budget is per position for the FTEs.
Excellent, thank you.
No problem.
And other than that, again, great job. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. That ends our questions. I would, just as a reminder, the 3 things I think we would love for you to provide the PowerPoint if you are comfortable doing that. And then also there was a request for the org chart that's on the questionnaire, just for somebody to check the formatting on that and to
Okay.
make sure that it legibly tells the number of employees by program. And then we just talked about the pay rate. So those are 3 items that we would love for you to send to Ms. Darby, and she will put it on her SharePoint, and all council members would then be able to
Yes, ma'am. we
see
got
that
it.
information. We are so grateful for you
Thank
answering
you.
our many questions, and we thank you very much. And we apologize to Water that you had to wait so long, but we're glad you're still here. So if y'all will come on up, we would love to hear.
Did you get all
That's
those
right,
questions?
what Water has to say.
You are so